Alright all, and welcome back to a new video and the start of the Royal Ascot day-by-day previews on this channel. We'll be covering all 5 days, every single race, not dissimilar to the Cheltenham videos, the Aintree videos, the Punchestown videos, day by day, race by race, and hopefully find a few winners. I know I haven't been overly active of recent weeks, been very busy obviously with a lot of work on, and I've been doing multiple different gigs, keeping things on the road, a bit of radio stuff here, a bit of writing stuff and a bit of commentary stuff as well. So been keeping myself very busy. It has meant I've slightly neglected the YouTube channel of late, but I'll be back for the whole of this week, and of course going forward throughout the summer into the Goodwood Festival, the Galway Festival, all of those sort of festivals will all be covered day by day on this channel, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. Looking forward to Tuesday's card, which is tomorrow's card at Royal Ascot. It looks a good card, full of potential superstars. Some already are superstars, and I've gone for a bit of a mix and match. There's a few at smaller prices, there's a few at absolutely massive prices as well. My form has been very in and out. It's been very poor actually in June so far, bar the one day that it wasn't poor was the last time I did a video, so let's hope that happens again. Midnight's Legacy winning at Epsom, Parents' Prayer winning at Epsom, and obviously Hurricane Lane and McSweeney both running admirable races in the Derby as well. We'll start off though with the 2:30, the Queen Anne Stakes, and I think it's fair to say Palace Pier should win this race. I want him to win this race, and at 2 to 5, you just have to sit back and look at that happen. That being said, I've been trying to look for an each-way alternative, or potentially without the market alternative, and I've landed on Lord Glitters in this race, and I'm going to advise him in just the normal each-way market at 28 to 1. You can find him 9 to 1 each way in the betting without market, which is also potentially a bet, but at 28 to 1 it's very juicy. I just don't really like the two O'Brien horses. I've never been a fan of Lope Fernandez, and Order of Australia's on his reappearance I think might need the run as well. So those two horses I'm willing to oppose. Then you've got the likes of Top Rank, who's a good horse and finished ahead of Lord Glitters at Newbury in the Lockinge Stakes, both of them behind Palace Pier. But that being said, Lord Glitters probably didn't get the run of the race that day, and off a really hot pace that you'd like to hope they will go in the Queen Anne. You'd like to hope this big grey horse, almost white in colour, will be flying home. Won over in Maidan in kind of January, February time, so is in some sort of nick, and obviously won this race back in 2019, so his course and distance form at this top level as well. So I think he's a viable alternative. At 28 to 1, he's a massive price to take on Palace Pier, and of course, if he was to hit that frame, that would be a very profitable start for us. Looking at the 305, the Coventry Stakes over 6 furlongs, I'm going to give you 2 for this because there's 2 I quite like, one at a big price as well. But starting off with the one at the smaller price, and I'm really taken by Richard Hannon's horse in this Gisburn, with Pat Dobbs taking the ride. You can currently get 13 to 2 best price, which I'll be backing each way. I was just so impressive. It was hard not to be with how he did it at Newbury the last day, winning a maiden by 6.5 lengths. I thought that was an absolutely sparkling performance, and I'd be willing to take that Richard Hannon may well have a good horse on his hands here. Richard Hannon certainly knows the time of day when he has a good horse on his hands. He'll be able to prepare this horse to win a big race at Royal Ascot, and potentially he might have one here in the shape of Gisburn. We obviously have the Wesley Ward runner Coffee Maker, or Coffee Maker perhaps some might try to pronounce, but I'm always wary about these Wesley Ward horses in general, but certainly over 6 furlongs. I prefer them over 5 furlongs. They're really fast. Sometimes they don't get home over 6 furlongs. That's my issue with them. I'm willing to stray away from Coffee Maker, even though the signs are that she could be an excellent filly. And obviously you have to bear in mind, she's running in a Colts race, even though she is a filly. She could have gone for the Albany, the Queen Mary, but she's going for the Coventry. So it's a very interesting ploy from Wesley Ward. He's been giving her a big talking up. But that being said, I'm going to side with Gisburn, and I'm going to side with one at a really big price in this. Vintage Clarets for Richard Fahey and Paul Hannigan at 33 to 1. I think it's a ridiculous price about this horse. He was 4th in the Brocklesby on debut and has won 2 races since, and doing so with a real sharp turn of foot. And after that second win, Paul Hannigan said in his post-race interview that he really did think this was an Ascot sort of horse. Richard Fahey is renowned to having his 2-year-olds fairly well forward, and maybe more forward than some other trainers would have them. This Vintage Clarets stepping up into 6 furlongs. He's got pace to burn, so maybe that's a little bit of a concern. I wouldn't have minded seeing him sticking to 5 furlongs furlongs, but I just think he's 33 to 1. This seems a massive price, and considering the Coventry was won last year by Nando Parado at I think 250 to 1, you shouldn't be against maybe having a few quid on something at a much bigger price. Moving on to the 340, the King's Stand Stakes. People are hypothesising, what about this, what about that? Are we not just staring this straight in the face? Battaash is the best horse in this race. I know there's caveats. I know he can blow up. This will be the first time he's seen crowds in a while. He hasn't raced since August. I understand that. But you're getting 9 to 4 now about a horse that at his best is clearly better than everything else in this field. Winter Power, a good progressive young filly. But Tim Easterby did this last year. He threw Art Power at Battaash. It didn't work. Battaash is an unbelievably good horse, one that we don't appreciate enough, I don't believe. I think a lot of people kind of try to crab Battaash, oh this, oh that, because he's blown up a few times. You're not backing against horses just because they may blow up. For me, I think at 9 to 4, it's not like you're having to take 4 to 5, which I did last year, and he still won. I think 9 to 4 is an exceptional price about a horse that if he turns up and runs his best race, he will win again by 2-3 lengths. I think he's just simply the best, and I don't want to hypothesise and try and make up stories as to why he won't perform, so therefore I'm going to back Battaash, and at 9 to 4 I think he's a good price. The 420, the St James's Palace Stakes, a really, really interesting race there. A lot of different form lines coming together. Poetic Flair's a horse I love a lot, and very hard not to like him for Jim Bulger, but this is his 4th big mile race in just over a month, really, in around a 5-6 week period. So he's really, I know Jim Bulger's come out a couple of days ago and saying he's a hardy horse. He needs to be a hardy horse. This has been a tough schedule. And instead I'm going to take him on with Lucky Vega at 7 to 1 each way. I think it's not a bad price about Lucky Vega in this for Shane Foley and Jessica Harrington. Ran a super race in the English Guineas when coming third, just beaten a half length in the end, and was a little bit inconvenienced as well. I thought the ground perhaps went slightly against him in the Irish 2000 Guineas and got a bit far back. Stayed on very well, actually stayed on better than I thought he would to finish 4th. I think back on a bit of nicer surface on a turn mile as well, not the straight mile obviously in the St James's Palace. I think that could suit Lucky Vega a little bit more here. He's got a lot of pace for a mile, and I think he's got a good chance in this. At 7 to 1, I think he's a bit too big. I think the Guineas form is better than some of the other form, to be honest. I would be fancying the likes of Poetic Flair and Lucky Vega ahead of your Highland Avenues. I know Chin just ran in the Guineas but was down the field, Battleground down the field. I don't see how they're reversing this form with Poetic Flair and Lucky Vega. Poetic Flair is a lovely horse. He's the type of horse I wouldn't begrudge winning, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone backing him, but you're taking 3 to 1 about him and 7 to 1 about Lucky Vega, who may have had just a slightly easier prep coming into this, and I'm going to side with him. The 5 o'clock, the Ascot Stakes. If you did listen to me on the radio on Saturday morning, one of my best bets for the week I put up with MC Muldoon. He was 7 to 1 at the time for the Ascot Stakes. He's now best price 9 to 2, and I'm going to still take MC Muldoon at that price. Willie Mullins' record in this race is gold dust, especially with Ryan Moore on board. I think this horse is a really, really well handicapped horse, and I think the lack of a few hurdles in front of him will do this horse no harm as well. Only issue with MC Muldoon is he going to stay 2.5 miles? Because he was quite a hard puller over 2 miles over hurdles, and obviously did the predominant amount of his early flash work before moving to Willie Mullins over around 1 mile, 2.5 miles. So you do have big stamina concerns, but we've seen this happen before, where Ryan Moore will hold up a Willie Mullins horse well off the pace, and I expect that to happen again, especially considering he can be a keen going sort. He's a tricky enough operator, but he's got heaps of ability in the bag, and he brings some of that hurdle form that I absolutely adore. The El Barra Get My Drift form from Punchestown. I loved that form. I thought MC Muldoon maybe wasn't given one of the Sunday best rides that time either, and he still finished 3rd when he was well backed. They think he's a very good horse. I think he could well be well handicapped, and at 9 to 2 I'm going to take him. The 5:35, the mile 2 furlong Wolferton Stakes, and it sees the return of one of Blair White's favourite animals in the game, and my nap of the day, Patrick Sarsfield at 4 to 1 best price. He will be my nap of the day. I think he's got a super chance in this. The only thing potentially nagging at you is the ground. I don't think the ground should be too much of an inconvenience. I don't think it's going to be rock hard that he's not going to be able to get into it whatsoever. He was a Group 3 winner last year. He then finished only a length behind in third in a Group 1 over in Germany. He's come back, then he ran very well at the ARC meeting over in France. He then reappeared in a listed race a couple of weeks ago at the Curragh, got nailed on the line, was very, very unfortunate to not win that day. And I think back in another listed race here, and getting weight off a few of these horses as well, I think Patrick Sarsfield will take a lot of beating. Tom Marcon takes the ride for Joseph O'Brien. Obviously, these connections with the owner teamed up to win the Ledger last year with Galileo Chrome, so he's not adverse to riding for Joseph O'Brien and also winning for Joseph O'Brien, Tom Marcon. So hopefully he can have the magic touch and get Patrick Sarsfield over the line. The final race, the 6:10, I'm actually going to stay away from Willie Mullins in this race. I'm going to back two at bigger prices. One being Arthurian Fable for Brian Mean and Jim Crowley. I think over mark of 96, this horse could be well handicapped. Won his only start on good to firm ground, and he's going to finish with likely enough good to firm ground, I suspect, in the description at some stage tomorrow. I think he's got a lively enough chance as an outsider. Ran a lovely race on reappearance to come fourth. Should come on for that and could well take a good go in this. At 12 to 1, I think he's a good each way bet. And won at an absolute rowdy price of 50 to 1. Keith Dalglish's Sextant. I just think this horse, back in a handicap, back in a much lesser grade here, having run his 2 runs so far on the flat in really tough group races. I know he has it defined with the likes of On to Victory from those sort of races back in this race. I understand that. But off a mark of 102, he has been able to compete off better marks in the past. And I think at 50 to 1, it's a bit of an insult to this horse's price. He showed over hurdles this year that there is still an engine there. And just when he was a really prolific horse, a summer or two ago, it was on this type of ground. And maybe a return to this type of ground might see him to better effect. At 50 to 1, it's worth a few quid each way in my book. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and of course, let me know what you guys think for day 1 down below. Who are your selections for each race? Who's your nap of the day? Maybe some at a bigger price. Do obviously let me know. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like. Subscribe to the channel down below to not make sure you don't miss anything from this week, as we will be covering every race from every day, and hopefully we'll back a few winners between us all. Until next time, where I'll be back for day 2. That will probably be a pre-recorded video just because of work. It will be going up Tuesday evening. It's probably going to end up having been filmed today on a Monday, but it will be up tomorrow evening. Until then, hope you stay safe, stay well. Hopefully we have a good first day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.